Welcome back to the Student Athlete Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Lemke. Today, we're talking to someone who exemplifies consistency, hard work, resilience, determination, and dedication. So we have Drew Wicklander, an athlete I've had the pleasure of working with for over a year now. Just crazy to think about. And Drew's journey went from not having any college offers his freshman year. This is before the rules changed. And he went from that into now recently committing to the University of Portland. So today we'll be diving into his story, the challenges he faced, and what it took to take his game to the next level. So Drew, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's rewind back to freshman year. So can you start by sharing what freshman year was like when you had friends, you had teammates, you had these people around you getting these offers, but you didn't? Like, what was going through your head at that time?
Yeah, so for me when I was a freshman, I knew that I was undersized, but I didn't really understand the significance of it. So I always knew that I had the right mentality, I had the baseball IQ, but I didn't really have like the physicality that I needed. So I kind of like going into the year I was pretty confident, but just me and my family, we all understood that I wasn't quite there on the physicality. So I kind of went into tryouts just kind of like my first goal was just let's make the high school team. Like I wasn't going to be a guy that was a freshman having expectations to be on varsity. I was like, let's make the high school team. And then I ended up making JV. Like just pretty much I talked to the coach and it was because of my physicality. So I kind of went through freshman year. And then right after that, even when I understood through freshman year that I could compete with the guys on varsity. So me and my family kind of had the conversation um, like after this season is when we're going to grind, when we're going to figure out how to gain some weight, how to get all your tools up. And then I ended up playing in state. I got moved up just kind of through my baseball IQ and everything like that. Not even just my physicality, but just I could get the job done. So as a freshman, I ended up getting moved up. I played all the way through state. We made it to the state championship. So I mean, it was just a great year overall. And then at the end of the year, even the high school football coach came up to me and was like, "Hey, you're the skinny freshman." I was like, "Yeah, yes, I am." So after that, he introduced me to Nick, and then that's right when me and my family were like, "Boom! Right now, the grind starts, and that's where we're gonna catch up to everybody." Because I mean, as a freshman, there was some kids that were committing, some like big national guys. There was some kids locally, but I wasn't too worried about it because I knew I was a freshman. I knew I still had time. But kind of right after that high school season, when I was like, boom, that's when it's time to grind. And I got introduced to Nick, and then it just all kind of took off after that. It was literally just the whole off season was grind, grind, grind.
Okay, so at the end of your freshman season, we started working together as you said. So, you talked about the size thing. You talked about you were the skinny freshman. So, what were some of the biggest things that you felt like you were missing because of the size? And then what were some of the changes you started to see as we started working together?
Yeah, so definitely what I was really missing while being undersized was like I mentioned, the physicality. And that was really the only thing I was missing from my game. I needed the power, I needed the speed, I needed pretty much everything except for I had the baseball IQ. So really I started working with you, and then while I was working with you, I was working with Travis. So literally my whole game kind of just tumbled into like all my abilities just kind of started to slowly rise. And that kind of got me to where right at the end of the summer where kids were like, nobody recognized me. It was crazy. Like I got in January, we went to Arizona and nobody recognized me. I was hitting balls way harder, way farther than I have. I was throwing the ball way harder than I had. So really kind of all my elements right when I started working with you, it was just a slow rise until the beginning of the year. And then it was just boom. No, like I went through the high school season and I hit a huge jump, and really honestly nobody recognized me. It was insane.
Hmm. Yeah, what were your favorite things that you saw, like the best changes, the things that were most satisfying to you when you saw that growth?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just the power and the consistency with my bat too, and just my confidence. The number one thing was my confidence. I went into that high school season knowing that I could compete with these big seniors that were committed, and that's exactly what I did. because I was hitting balls off the fence like I had never done before at the high school fields. I was throwing the ball hard. I was hitting consistently. I was pretty much almost the talk of the season, and it was really rewarding. I felt like all the hard work that I put in, it all just turned into exactly what I earned. So really, just I went into that year with confidence, and it ended up paying off.
Yeah. Well, and then you hit your first home run going into in the summertime and everything. Like everything was kind of coming together.
Oh yeah.
So when we talk about the nutrition piece of it, so a lot of athletes when they talk about gaining size, like when I'm having conversations, one of the things that I hear most often of what they're going to try to do about it, of getting size and gaining like muscle, is just to eat more.
Mhm.
What, or just to eat more protein, like a lot of them, and I know you were kind of in this category initially, was that just eating a ton of protein. So was it as simple as eating more protein, or was there more to it for you?
Yeah, so I was definitely one of those kids that me and my dad were just chocolate milk and chicken. That was like all I had: chicken and rice, chocolate milk, and that was really, honestly, I didn't care much about my nutrition at all. It wasn't a priority until I started working with you, and then that's kind of when I realized like what I'm putting into my body like really matters. Because in the summers I was living off of Eggo waffles and watermelon. So when I started working with you, me and my mom got into a really good routine with school lunches and stuff like that. And honestly, it was really easy because just working with you, I was able to kind of you would let me know what I needed to get. It was pretty easy to get. It was cheap. You helped me with what was affordable. So it was honestly, as soon as I kind of got into that routine, it was easy. Like stuff didn't always taste the greatest, but I didn't honestly, kind of just with the results, I was starting to see I didn't care anymore. I was like, that this is really helping me, so this is what I'm going to prioritize. And just kind of throughout my whole sophomore year, just with my meals, uh, yeah, just kind of getting into that routine, it was literally super easy, and it just lasted me through the whole year. And I'm even starting new routines this year with new stuff. And I'm like the off season kind of just started. I'm again already seeing some benefits. So
Mm.
it's been pretty easy for me, and I know that it's a lot of other people I've talked to. It's pretty easy for them.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool now. Like you have two of your friends in the program right now, and we've had some, a lot of Sumner guys kind of cycle through. So I think I'm also curious too, like how has that impacted you? Like having, I mean, granted that was much later. You were my only baseball guy for like the first, I think, like 3 to 6 months, and then that was when we started getting more baseball guys in. But what was it like then, starting to have some of your baseball guys finally locking into it too?
Yeah, no, again, it was just really refreshing. Kids were starting to notice all my everything that I was doing, and just kind of the size that I gained, and everyone was like, I want to be like that. Again, and everybody after my sophomore year, after my baseball season, all the results that they saw, everybody was like, that's exactly what I want. So it was really refreshing for me, and I felt pretty honored that everybody kind of wanted to follow what I was doing. And I had kids at school asking me all the time. They're like, "This Nick guy's texting me. Like, do you like him?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." Kids started rolling into the program, and then the kids that stay dedicated and really want it. Those are the kids that see a lot of the benefits. And I know a lot of the kids at my school are seeing the benefits with working with you already. So it's been really refreshing, and I'm really honored that a lot of kids are wanting to follow me and follow you too. That it's us, our work together has really been paying off.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the fun part. And the thing that I've liked about being able to work together for a while too is just being able to see that those results. And as we talk about, like in a few minutes here, we'll talk about like your next steps. And that's the thing. That's the fun part too, is it doesn't stop. But also, like you said, like the changes that we're making now, like aren't like dramatic changes. It's just that slow and steady over time.
Yeah.
But when you started out, like what was it like, if you remember those first couple weeks or even those first few weeks? Because I know it was right after school ended, and you were basically going right into travel ball season at that point. I think you had a little bit of a break, but what did you feel those first few weeks?
Yeah, so I remember the first couple weeks that I started, it was pretty slow because like you said, I was kind of just getting into summer ball. It was pretty slow, but what I really noticed is my energy, and like I wasn't gaining weight or anything, but my energy, my consistency, it was kind of just slowly, again, just slowly getting better as time went on. So, I mean, that was really beneficial going into the summer. And then kind of right when that off season hit is when I started growing in literally every aspect of my game, just through my nutrition and even the sleep. That's everything that we've discussed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I realize too that not everyone listening even maybe knows you yet. So I just want to highlight too, I meant to mention this earlier, is the growth that you have seen. So I mean, yes, there's the weight gain, and that's kind of like that metric, that number that, you know, everyone kind of follows, but it was, you were at like 140ish starting out, maybe
Yeah,
a little under.
not even. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the end of summer you were around 150. I feel like we still were able to ultimately get you up a little bit, like at least 5-10 pounds.
Yeah, I was like 145 to 150.
Yeah. And then from there it was like, hey, you were like 170 going into
Yeah.
sophomore season steady, and then now you're like 175, 180.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that's the thing is, and I know like parents listening, they're like, well, it's not just about the weight, which is true. And that's why I also want to be like, okay, what were some of those other things? I know, like, what were some of the metrics or some of the other things you saw? Like, again, like I know like exit velo and things like that you saw that were the big changes.
Yeah, so right when I started working with you was, yeah, like right at the beginning of the summer, and I actually did a showcase right when I started working with you, and my exit velo was, I think, 87, and that was the highest I'd had, and I was honestly pretty satisfied with that. I was like, wow, that's better than I did before. And then my arm velo was low; it was like 75, and then my running again was low; it was like 75. So pretty much all my numbers were like they were better than my previous showcase, but they were well below average for most people in my grade. So, and then kind of while we worked through that summer in the off season in February, I did another showcase right before high school season. And I actually, my exit velo jumped up, 7 miles an hour. I was 94 exit velo. My 60 went down to a 7.2. And then my arm velo was 82. So I gained multiple miles an hour and everything. And even the guy that ran the showcase was like, Drew, like, man, like, I didn't even recognize you. Like, how much weight have you gained? Like, you look so good. Like, this is crazy. And I was like, yeah. So I definitely had a lot of people that noticed all my stuff, and I started to get posted by some national stuff. So that I felt like I really earned that, because I mean, nobody really saw me and was like, wow, this kid looks like he can play without even playing. But that's kind of where I've put myself to. Just kind of working with you is turning myself into a big national guy that people are starting to notice.
When I mean, I want to give a lot of credit to you because you put in a lot of that dark work. Like, you put in a lot of that work behind the scenes, not just with me, but shout out Travis Calloway, and obviously your parents were very like involved and supporting in that process. And I know, I'm sure you have plenty of other people like coaches and stuff you want to shout out to.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of that dark work you put in and the consistency, like I said, like whenever I think consistency, I do think of you because, I mean, number one, you eat the same thing over and over again a lot, but it's not always a bad thing. I mean, that does make this part easier. But you were just consistent with it. You started seeing those early results of having more energy. You gained like a couple pounds maybe initially, and then it was just like you were just consistent. You're like, okay, this works, and I'm just going to keep at it. Versus some people where they're like, I'm going to kind of rest on weekends or kind of chill. I sleep in, and then I end up only eating twice that day. And it's like, that's not enough. You were consistently, like, the fact that you gained 30 pounds from June to, I think it was February ish, you were about 170 was when you hit. And so, yeah, I mean, that's consistency right there. So when we talk nutrition too, what were some things that really made a difference for you that you feel like you wouldn't have figured out or wouldn't have learned if you just tried to do this on your own?
Yeah, so definitely working with you, some of the benefits is you really get into the numbers and you really get into stuff that works for me. So like, I know that I wouldn't do the research on any of the numbers. Like, if I would ask someone and be like, hey, is this something that tastes good and also like kind of works? And they were like, yeah, I'd be like, okay, I'll get that. But you really dig down deep into the numbers, and like the taste doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, I'm putting the food into my body for a reason. So definitely all the numbers, and then kind of just what I'll get out of it, like all everything that I'll get out of it, not just like if this will help me gain muscle, but how this will make me feel the next day, how this will, yeah, just kind of energy wise, how this will benefit me. And even like I would have never thought of like something like tart cherry juice that I drink before bed for sleep and stuff like that. So definitely a lot of stuff that just kind of based around sleep or kind of different aspects that I would never think about. I would just think about protein bars and meats, what all that stuff that I can put in, but none of a lot of the stuff that you helped me with, I honestly had never even heard of sometimes. So yeah, I know that you do a lot of research too. So definitely the research that you put in is really benefiting me and all the other clients too.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, again, especially when it comes down to your mission. Like some guys come into the program, I'll be honest, some more so the football guys who it's just like, hey, I just want to gain weight and get out. Like this is my thing, and that's it. And so like it's kind of that, like I describe it, that college level, but you're more of that D1 pro level where you're like, hey, like I want to be the best that I can be. And so that's where, again, things like the tart cherry juice or, eating, like when I ask you guys, like how often you guys are eating color, like fruits and vegetables, like things like that to help with that recovery piece, to help you sustain that high level for much higher level or much longer period of time. So I think it also just comes down to how badly you want it. But I want to, you made the point about the taste thing. So, and this is one thing I try to stress with people too, is it's when you can shift your mind and start thinking about, hey, this is my mission. Like Drew, you're on a mission. This is what you want to accomplish. And so those little details, like you're like, I can eat that. Like, it's fine. Like there's some things, bell peppers, I know not your thing, so we don't talk about them, but other things like you just deal with, and you're like, hey, like this is more important. Like me eating some minor inconvenience, basically. It's just like working out hard. Like having a really hard workout is basically like eating certain foods. And so it's just that mindset shift of understanding how that's going to really make an impact on your performance. But also, like, again, credit you for that, because I didn't even have to tell you that. Like that was just something you did. You just have that awareness of like, hey, no, this is my mission, this is what I need to accomplish, and you just did it. So
Yeah.
again, credit on that. So again, with the NCAA rule changes, you had to wait. So after freshman year, then you were like, couldn't even get an offer until, August 1st of this year. So just a couple months ago. So you kind of had to wait and see. And I know a lot of athletes now are probably having that, like that feeling of, oh, now, like, I don't know where I am. Like, they might have an idea, you kind of had an idea, but you didn't know exactly. You didn't know who was going to offer, all those things. You're kind of just like, well, we'll see. What made you, and and again, this is for those athletes who aren't quite at that junior year, is what made you keep going and work even harder during that waiting period?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, like kind of before the period, I had a little bit of talk with some schools, but again, I was super young. But kind of right when that rule changed, I was like, honestly, I felt like this is perfect for me because I know that I need to grow a lot to be this big D1 guy that I know that I can be. So I almost used it as like, this is how I grind. This is where I can get myself to a big D1 guy before schools can pick out anybody else. Where I can catch up to these guys before they're already getting committed and stuff like that. So that was really huge for me. My mindset was, yeah, just work as hard as I can, get to where I can be one of the top guys, and that's exactly what I ended up doing.
Yeah. No, and again, that's again the mindset that you have, thinking about, hey, no, like, yeah, this is actually a blessing in disguise, because now I can grind more and I can pass. I mean, you clearly passed a lot of people, and you're, again, you're on that national level where you had that national attention at the same time, and that's going to help you ultimately with with future goals too. When we talk about, so I mean, you're committed now, and a lot of athletes, when they get that commitment, or they say they get drafted, whatever, I talk about this, with other coaches and scouts that have been on the podcast, like a lot of them coast. A lot of them are kind of chill afterwards. So are you coasting, or is there something specific you're working on from now until you hit graduation in a year and a half, or 2 years ish?
Yeah. So me and my family definitely had that conversation, but for me, it's like, yeah, it's cool to post, and people like comment, they see it, and a lot of people come up to me at school, but it's like that's not why I committed where I committed, or that's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it. My goal now, just kind of everything that I've done, is I know what I'm capable of just from this last year. So now I'm using that as now I feel like I'm working to be a draft prospect. I'm working for to be a guy that gets drafted, because I mean, I've gone to a couple showcases where I'm selected as a draft prospect to get scouted by pro scouts. So that's where I'm at now. Is I'm not satisfied. Like I'm satisfied with where I'm at, but I'm not satisfied. I'm looking for more. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is continuing to grind, my same routine to keep growing and be even better, to where I can be a guy that gets drafted out of high school and get more national attention. Because I mean, I'm there now. I'm there. I'm on the national level. I got guys that I can work with nationally, but I want even more. I want to be that guy that people talk about nationally, big time.
Yeah. So what makes you so hungry for that?
I mean, just my love for the game. I mean, that's everything that I want. I mean, just kind of watching the MLB games and just kind of putting yourself in like the other guys' heads. You're like, that's got to be so cool walking onto the field with a walk-up song. You look up and there's people everywhere cheering for you. I mean, that's pretty much my goal in life, is to be in that situation and play 160 games a year. I mean, that's exactly what I want.
I love that. So I talk to a lot of athletes who have that same love for baseball, football, whatever sport, but they're also not as committed to the process. What do you feel like separates you? Because again, there's a lot of athletes who have that dream, who want to do that thing, but don't necessarily put in that work. What do you feel like separates you to have that love that translates to training?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously, like I've explained kind of where my mindset is, but honestly, the biggest piece of this whole puzzle is my parents. Just all the like my expectations for them and what everything that they do for me. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without them, because I mean, they pay for all my travel. I mean, I've been working with you. That was all because of my parents. I'm working with Travis. That was all because of my parents. So really, kind of all the stuff that I've used, like where I've put the work in, I've kind of all started because of my parents. So I mean, they're the biggest piece of this, and just the expectations that they have for me. I mean, that's really the biggest piece for how I kind of got where I am now, and if I can get to be a draft guy. So that's definitely my parents. I feel like is the number one biggest piece of where I'm different than other kids.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, that is a big deal. And I think again, we don't give our parents enough credit. I know I don't. Like my parents are past, but I've seen times where I'm like, man, I need to give my dad a little bit more credit than what I give him. So I think it's really cool. Again, just that recognition, again, that shows your maturity, that leadership, that awareness that you have. And that, again, that's going to help you take yourself to those higher levels and do it the right way. So I think again, that's awesome. Then, so what would be your advice to other high school athletes who do want to play at the highest level possible?
Yeah, so I mean, I know a lot of kids at my school. Like, I have a lot of conversations with them, but you really got to find people that you can use as your mentors and that you can use to push you, because that's exactly what I did. I used you to push me as a mentor. I had Travis, I had my parents, I had my high school coaches, I had my travel ball coach. I had so many people that I kind of used for different parts of my game to just continue to push me and just to continue to play at the highest level I could. I mean, I've been pushing myself, and my team has been playing up since we were 13 years old. I lift with the older kids if I can. I put myself into the groups that I know will challenge me. So really, just kind of putting in that extra effort to kind of use other people to push you, and just to even push yourself. Because I mean, I know that there's a lot of kids that like they want to put the work in, but they'll just get lazy. They won't really do what they need to do, and that's kind of what I did. Is if I didn't want to do something, yeah, like I know you would, Callaway would, my parents would be like, doesn't matter, you got to do it if you want to be where you are. So definitely just kind of the self accountability, and then using other people to have accountability on you, and expectations is putting having a lot of goals and expectations for yourself, because I mean, you know that you can get there as long as you work hard enough.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, that's who you surround yourself with is a big deal. And I think that's, again, one of the reasons why I'm excited about, again, Hudson joining the program, because I even hear you guys talking like on the call, like, all right, like we're hitting together on this day and like doing these things. And again, that's what you need. Like doing this solo is that's where people fail, is when they don't have any sort of support. I mean, even if you're in some random small town, again, if you're listening and you're just from some random small town and you don't have any other athletes at your school that are hungry like this, like find them digitally, like go follow Drew, go connect with them. Again, this is where like my community is beneficial, because most of the communities you find for athletes are all going to be in person. Mine is like, hey, we're online. So it makes it a little bit easier to like meet and connect and all those types of things. Cause I know even you know, been able to connect with some distance, you know, from this too. Any other things you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, just kind of, just to like, from me, like, kind of, I already said my routines, but kind of just what we just talked about is, as long as you kind of have self expectations and kind of have other people to hold you accountable, that's really the biggest piece, is trying to work with other people, because people can get it done on their own, but that's how I saw the most benefits and the most results, is working with other people and really grinding.
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, again, Drew, I really appreciate you coming on today. And again, like, I just love watching your journey. Like, it's been super cool to, again, just watch that progression. That's why I always have to like brag about you, because I actually see the hard work that you've put in behind the scenes, the dedication and all of that. And now, like, now that you're committed, we're like, all right, get you on the podcast, talk about these things, like highlight, like, again, all this hard work you've been putting in, because you have been doing it in the dark, in a sense. And, you know, people see you, like you said, at school and stuff, but again, like, I just want to acknowledge once again all that hard work and dedication you put in the last year and a half.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And obviously you're a really big piece of that too. You and Callaway and my parents are the main pieces. And really none of this would be possible without all three of you guys. So yeah, I'm just really grateful for everybody that's helped me through this process, because I didn't do it on my own. I had a lot of people that were supporting me.
Yeah, I appreciate, I love that. And that, again, I love your humility with that too. Like, again, great great athlete right here. So any MLB scouts listening in, just gonna drop that. But for our listeners though, I hope you guys have gained some valuable insight, valuable perspective on this, and recognizing that it is possible. You know, if you love something enough, like, then go after it and put in the work, have that community, have that support, and, you know, really take control of that journey, because it's ultimately on you. And so again, until next time, keep striving for greatness.